The city lights of Orion's capital glowed in colors that no human eye was meant to see. Neon signs floated in the air, alien merchants shouted in strange tongues, and ships roared as they landed above the towers. A lone human named Daniel walked quietly through the crowded streets, his hands in his pockets. He was tired after another long day working at the docks, carrying heavy crates for aliens who never even looked at him. To most of the galaxy, humans were nothing but weak laborers, simple hands meant for hard work. Daniel had no family here. He had come to this planet years ago, searching for a better life, but he never found it. Every night he walked alone through the alleys, listening to the hum of alien machines and the whispers of strangers. But tonight, something was different. As he turned into a narrow alley, he heard it, a soft cry. At first, he thought it was just the sound of a cat-like alien creature, but then he heard words. A trembling, broken voice whispered, "Please, human, pretend to be my daddy. Just for one day." Daniel froze. The words came from the shadows. His eyes searched the dark corner, and there she was, a small alien girl, no older than 10 by human years. Her skin glowed faintly with a silver hue. Her large eyes shimmered with tears, and her hands clutched at the dirty fabric of her cloak. She looked weak, hungry, and scared. For a moment, Daniel thought he was dreaming. A child asking a stranger, asking him to be her father. He stepped closer slowly, careful not to frighten her. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice low. The girl pressed herself against the wall, shaking, but she didn't run. Her voice cracked as she whispered again, "Please, pretend to be my daddy, just for one day. They won't hurt me if they think I have one." Daniel frowned. His heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to ask who they were, but before he could, heavy footsteps echoed from the far end of the alley. He saw shadows moving, tall armored figures with glowing helmets. Alien guards. Their voices were sharp, their tone angry, as they shouted orders to each other. The girl's eyes widened in terror. She rushed forward suddenly and grabbed Daniel's sleeve with both hands. Her small fingers clung to him as if her life depended on it. "Please," she begged, her eyes staring into his. "If they find me alone, they will take me away, but if they think you're my father, they will stop." Daniel's mind raced. He had no reason to get involved. He could walk away, leave her to her fate. He was only a worker, a nobody. But something in her voice struck deep inside him. He remembered another little hand, many years ago, his own daughter's hand back on Earth. She was gone now, lost to time and distance, but the memory cut into him like a blade. The guard's footsteps grew louder. Daniel looked at the girl again. Her tears rolled down her glowing cheeks, and she pressed herself against him, whispering, "Please, Daddy." He didn't think. He acted. Daniel placed his hand gently on her shoulder and pulled her closer. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The guards entered the alley, their glowing eyes scanning. One of them pointed at the girl. "There, that's her." The girl trembled, hiding behind Daniel. The guard stepped closer, weapons humming with energy. "Human," one growled. "Give us the child. She is not yours." Daniel stood tall, though fear burned in his chest. He tightened his hand on the girl's shoulder and said firmly, "She is mine." The guards paused, their helmets tilting. The alley went silent, except for the sound of the girl's shaky breathing. For the first time in years, Daniel's voice carried something he thought he had lost: courage. The guards exchanged looks. The human had just made a claim, a dangerous claim, and so it began. The alien guards didn't believe him. Their glowing helmets turned toward Daniel, scanning him from head to toe. One of them growled, "Human, don't lie. She's not your child. Step aside or you will regret it." Daniel felt the girl's small hands gripping his shirt tightly. He could feel her shaking. She pressed her face against his arm as if hiding from monsters. His heart beat faster. He had no plan, no weapon, no chance against trained soldiers. Yet, he couldn't let go. "She's mine," he said again, louder, this time. His voice echoed in the narrow alley. The guards raised their weapons. Bright blue light shimmered at the tips, humming with deadly energy. Daniel swallowed hard. If they fired, he and the girl would be nothing but ash. Then the girl surprised him. She stepped forward, clinging to his side, and shouted in her small, trembling voice, "Daddy, don't let them take me." Her words cut through the tension. The guards froze for a second. Merchants and strangers passing by the alley heard her cry and turned their heads. Some aliens whispered among themselves, "A human with a child?" That was strange, unusual, even shocking. The pause was short. The guards recovered quickly. "Enough games," one barked. "Take them both." Daniel's instinct screamed. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran. His boots pounded against the wet ground as he pulled her into the crowded street. The guards shouted and rushed after them, their heavy armor clanking loudly. They pushed through a busy marketplace. Alien vendors shouted in anger as crates of fruit toppled, glowing liquids spilled, and stalls shook. The smell of spices and smoke filled the air. Daniel dodged carts and strange animals, his grip on the girl never loosening. She was fast for her size, but she stumbled. He pulled her back up, urging, "Run, don't stop." Behind them, the guards forced their way through the crowd. Some shoppers screamed as weapons flashed, scattering in fear. The market turned into chaos. Daniel's lungs burned. He hadn't run like this in years, but fear gave him strength. He darted left into a narrow row of stalls, trying to lose them. He glanced back. The guards were still close. Too close. "Daddy!" The girl gasped, out of breath. "This way!" She pulled him toward a side path between two tall stone buildings. Without thinking, he followed. They dashed through the shadows, the sound of boots echoing behind them. Glowing sign buzzed above. A checkpoint gate guarded by alien officers. Daniel's heart sank. If they reached it, they would be caught for sure. But the girl squeezed his hand, whispering, "Don't let go." The guards shouted again. "Stop them. The child is a fugitive." The checkpoint guards turned, confused. Their weapons lifted. Daniel slowed, panic flooding him. He couldn't fight them all. What could he do? Before he could decide, the girl did something unexpected. She pressed close to him and shouted in her small but strong voice, "Daddy, they're scaring me." The crowd froze. Aliens nearby looked at Daniel differently now. A few frowned at the armored guards. Some even muttered angrily, as if they didn't like what they were seeing. Daniel's mind raced. He placed his arm protectively around the girl and glared at the guards. "You heard her," he said, his voice steady, though his chest was tight. "She's my daughter. Leave us alone." The moment hung heavy. The guards hesitated. The people around began whispering louder. Even the checkpoint officers looked uncertain. No one wanted to be seen dragging a frightened child away from her father in front of a crowd. For a brief second, Daniel thought they might be safe. But then one guard stepped forward, his voice sharp with anger. "If she is truly your child, prove it." Daniel's stomach dropped. The girl looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. She whispered only for him to hear, "Don't let go, Daddy, please." Daniel had no proof, no papers, no plan. Yet somehow he knew he had to find a way to protect her, and the chase was far from over. The air around the checkpoint was heavy. The alien guards stood tall, their weapons glowing, their sharp helmets reflecting the bright market lights. Dozens of eyes from the crowd focused on Daniel and the little girl. Some whispered in confusion, others waited for drama to unfold. "Prove it," the lead guard said again. His voice was cold, mechanical. "Show us this child is yours. Humans cannot lie their way out of this." Daniel's heart pounded like a drum. He had no papers, no documents, nothing that could prove he was the girl's father. One wrong move, and they would both be taken away. The girl pressed her face against his chest, trembling. For a moment, Daniel almost gave up. He wanted to shout the truth that he didn't even know her name, that she wasn't his. But then he felt her arms tighten around him, as if she believed in him more than anyone else. Her tiny voice whispered, "Please, Daddy." The word cut deep into his soul. He couldn't abandon her now. Daniel took a slow breath and forced himself to meet the guard's glowing eyes. "She is mine," he said firmly, his voice steady. "And you know nothing about humans, so how can you prove I'm lying?" The guard tilted his head, confused. His scanners blinked, flashing strange lights across Daniel's face. After a moment, the device beeped uncertainly, unable to confirm or deny. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Daniel pressed on. "You aliens, scan numbers and codes, but families are not numbers. Families are hearts." He looked down at the girl, brushing dirt from her silver hair gently. "She is my heart. That is all the proof I need." The crowd murmured louder now. Some aliens nodded, some frowned at the guards. A few even whispered, "He's right." The word father carried power, even across species. The guards shifted uneasily. The people were watching too closely. If they attacked the girl now, it could cause unrest. The lead guard growled, "Fine, we will watch you. But if you lie, human, you will pay." The guards lowered their weapons but didn't leave. They stayed near, suspicious eyes locked on Daniel and the girl. Daniel felt his knees weak with relief, but he couldn't show it. He looked down at the girl. She was still clinging to him, her big glowing eyes filled with tears. "You did it," she whispered softly. "You really are my daddy now." Daniel almost corrected her, almost told her the truth, but the words caught in his throat. Something in her voice, something in the way she looked at him, made him stay silent. "What's your name?" he whispered back. She blinked, surprised. "Lyra," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "All right, Lyra, we need to get out of here." They slipped away from the checkpoint, moving through side alleys. The guards didn't follow immediately, but Daniel knew they wouldn't give up. Something about Lyra made them desperate to capture her. When they finally stopped in the shadows of an abandoned courtyard, Daniel crouched down. "Why are they after you?" he asked. Lyra hesitated. Her small hands played with the edge of her cloak. She looked scared, but finally whispered, "Because I carry a crest, a symbol of a great house. My mother left me. She said I was not worth keeping. But the crest makes them want me back. Not for love, but for power." Daniel's breath caught. A noble crest? That explained everything. He stared at her glowing eyes, her trembling figure, and felt anger rise inside him. To think they would throw her away, then hunt her just for politics. "You're safe with me," Daniel said, though he wasn't sure how true it was. But the way Lyra's face lit up, the way she leaned against him, made him realize something. The lie he had spoken back at the checkpoint no longer felt like a lie. The words had turned real in her heart, and in his. Night fell over the alien city. The glowing towers sparkled like crystals, but in the dark streets, danger lurked behind every corner. Daniel and Lyra moved quietly, staying in the shadows. Every time he looked back, Daniel half expected to see armored guards hunting them again. Lyra walked close, holding his sleeve tightly. Her small steps made little sound, but her glowing silver eyes shined too bright in the darkness. Daniel gently pulled her hood lower to hide her face. They stopped near an old fountain in a forgotten square. The water no longer flowed, and dust covered the stones. Daniel crouched down. "We need to rest for a moment," he whispered. Lyra nodded, sitting beside him. Her eyes scanned the shadows nervously. For a child, she carried fear like someone much older. "Tell me about this crest," Daniel said softly. "Why does it matter so much?" Lyra hesitated. Her small fingers reached inside her cloak. Slowly, she pulled out a pendant. It was shaped like a shard of crystal, glowing faintly with golden light. Strange symbols ran across it, alive with energy. Daniel stared at it. Even without knowing alien culture, he could feel its importance. What is it? It is the crest of House Vera, she whispered. My mother is Lady Vera, one of the most powerful nobles in the sector. This crest proves I am her blood. Daniel's brows tightened. But if you're her daughter, why did she leave you? Lyra's lips trembled. Her voice grew smaller. She said I was weak. She said a true heir must be strong, not sickly. She gave me away to the servants. When I grew older, she ordered them to cast me out. Her words cut Daniel's chest like a knife. He looked at her thin arms, her small frame, and the way she tried so hard not to cry. She wasn't weak. She was just a child who needed love. And now she wants you back because of this crest, Daniel guessed. Lyra nodded, eyes wet with tears. If they control me, they can claim armies, fleets, and power. But they don't care about me. Only the crest. Daniel clenched his fists. He thought of the nobles living in their grand mansions, feasting while children like Lyra starved in alleys. His jaw tightened. They'll have to go through me first, he muttered. Lyra looked up at him, surprised. You really mean it? Daniel's gaze softened. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You asked me to be your daddy for a day. Well, daddies protect their kids, so yes, I mean it. Her eyes widened, glowing with hope. For the first time, she smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. Before Daniel could say more, the sound of engines roared nearby. He pulled Lyra close and peeked from behind the fountain. Hovering vehicles passed overhead, shining spotlights across the streets. Guards searched, shouting commands. But among them, Daniel saw something that made his blood run cold. At the center of the convoy was a golden carriage-like hovercraft heavily guarded. Its windows were tinted, but Daniel caught a glimpse of a tall figure inside, dressed in royal silks. Lyra stiffened. It's her, she whispered. Her voice shook. My mother. Daniel's eyes narrowed. The noble mansion cast its shadow, even here in the heart of the city. He could feel the weight of power pressing down on them. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about standing against a family that threw away its own child. He held Lyra's hand tighter. Stay close. We'll get through this. Together. Above them, the golden lights faded into the night, but Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The shadow of the mansion stretched far, and sooner or later, they would have to face it. The next morning, the docks of Orion's capital were alive with noise. Massive cargo ships hovered above the bay, unloading crates with glowing seals. Workers shouted, machines hummed, and traders argued over prices. It was the busiest place in the city, yet also the most dangerous. Guards often came here to check documents and catch runaways. Daniel pulled Lyra through the crowd, keeping his head low. He hoped the chaos of the docks would hide them, but the girl's silver eyes and glowing crest made her too easy to spot. He could feel curious stares from strangers as they passed. Lyra gripped his hand tightly. They'll find us, she whispered. Not if we move fast, Daniel said. But even as he spoke, his gut twisted. He had lived long enough to know trouble was never far behind, and trouble came quickly. A line of armored guards stepped into their path, blocking the way forward. The crowd hushed. The lead officer, taller than the rest, pointed at Daniel and the girl. Stop. You two are under suspicion. Daniel's throat tightened. He could run, but there were too many soldiers around. If he fought, he would die. The officer barked. You claim this child as your own? Then prove it. Here and now. Daniel's heart sank. Again. Always the same question. Proof. Papers, blood tests, identity chips. Things he didn't have. He looked down at Lyra. She was trembling, clutching his shirt like it was her lifeline. The officer pulled out a scanner device. It glowed red, ready to check their bloodline match. Hold her hand over the reader, he ordered. Daniel froze. If the scanner showed no match, their lie would fall apart. The guards would drag her away and his promise to protect her would end. The crowd pressed closer. Workers, merchants, and travelers gathered to watch. Whispers filled the air. Some pitied the little girl. Others shook their heads at the foolish human who dared challenge the law. Daniel's mind raced. He remembered what Lyra told him, that her crest carried ancient power, that it recognized bloodlines of nobles. Maybe he could twist that truth. He knelt beside Lyra and whispered, "Trust me. Don't be afraid." Her glowing eyes met his. She nodded weakly. Daniel stood tall again. "You want proof?" he said loudly, his voice cutting through the silence. "Then look at her crest. It reacts to family. If she calls me her father, it will glow." The officer frowned. "That is not procedure." "Then prove me wrong," Daniel snapped back. His words were sharp, filled with human stubbornness. The crowd stirred at his boldness. The officer hesitated, then gestured. "Very well. Let the child show us." All eyes turned to Lyra. Her small hands shook as she held up the glowing pendant. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was so heavy, it felt like the air stopped. Then Lyra whispered, "Daddy." The crest pulsed. Its golden light flared, brighter, bathing her and Daniel in a warm glow. Gasps spread through the crowd. Even the guards took a step back in shock. The officer's scanner beeped in confusion, unable to process the strange reaction. "Impossible," he muttered. Daniel didn't flinch. He placed his hand on Lyra's shoulder and said firmly, "You see? She is mine. That is all the proof you need." The crowd began to murmur louder, some even cheering softly. The guards looked uneasy. To seize the girl now in front of witnesses would look like an attack on family bonds, something even aliens respected. The officer growled, but finally waved his hand. "Go. But we will be watching you, human." Daniel led Lyra quickly away, his pulse still racing. When they were out of sight, Lyra looked up at him with awe. "You tricked them. You saved me again." Daniel gave a small smile, though his chest was tight. "Not a trick," he said quietly. "If the crest believes it, maybe it's because you already are mine." Lyra's eyes shimmered, filling with hope. For the first time, she didn't look abandoned. She looked like a daughter, but Daniel knew the danger wasn't gone. They had only won one test. More were coming, and next time, the nobles themselves might not let him walk away. The docks faded behind them, but Daniel's nerves still burned. Every time he looked over his shoulder, he expected guards to appear again. Yet for the moment, the crowd swallowed them and they found safety in a quiet warehouse at the edge of the port. Inside, the air smelled of dust and old wood. Broken crates lay scattered, and the faint hum of distant engines echoed through the walls. Daniel closed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Lyra sat on a crate, holding her glowing pendant close to her chest. Daniel crouched in front of her. "That crest saved us back there. But why did it glow when you called me your father? You said it belongs to your mother's house." Lyra stared at the crystal shard in her hands. Its golden light pulsed softly like a heartbeat. "It is more than a symbol," she whispered. "The crest is alive." Daniel blinked. "Alive?" She nodded. "It carries the memory of our bloodline. It knows who we belong to. But..." She hesitated, eyes shimmering with doubt. "It also reacts to truth, not just blood. If I believe something with all my heart, the crest responds." Daniel's breath caught. "So when you called me Daddy, the crest felt it," she finished quietly. "It believed because I believed." For a moment, Daniel didn't know what to say. He looked at the small girl, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim light. She had been abandoned by her own blood, yet this strange living crystal chose to side with her heart instead of her noble family. He rubbed his forehead. "That means the crest is more dangerous than I thought. If the nobles learn it can be swayed by belief, they'll want to use it, to bend armies to claim things that aren't truly theirs." Lyra's small hands trembled as she held the pendant tighter. That is why they hunt me. They want to chain me to their throne, force me to speak what they desire. Then the crest will obey. Daniel felt a chill crawl down his spine. It wasn't just about a family symbol anymore. It was about power that could rewrite the galaxy. He sat beside her on the crate, his voice softer. Listen to me, Lyra. You are not weak. You are not worthless. You carry something powerful, but more than that, you carry yourself. Don't let them break you. Her eyes widened. Tears welled up, but this time they weren't from fear. No one ever said that to me before. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe that's because no one ever saw you as a child. They only saw the crest. But to me, you're just a little girl who needs someone to stand beside her. Lyra leaned closer, resting her head on his arm. For a moment, the silence between them felt safe, almost warm. But safety didn't last long. A loud crash shook the warehouse. Doors. Heavy boots stomped outside. Daniel jumped to his feet, pulling Lyra behind him. Shadows moved under the crack of the door. More guards. They found us, he muttered. Lyra's hand clutched his tightly. What do we do? Daniel scanned the room quickly. The only way out was a broken skylight above. He dragged a crate under it. We climb. He lifted Lyra first, pushing her up toward the open gap. She scrambled through, the crest glowing brightly in her hand. Daniel followed, muscles straining as he pulled himself up. Just as the door below shattered open, Daniel and Lyra disappeared into the night sky. The shouts of the guards echoed behind them, but the rooftops gave them cover. Running across the tiles, Daniel whispered to himself. The crest may hold the truth of bloodlines, but tonight, it belongs to us. Lyra squeezed his hand, the golden light flickering with every beat of her small heart. And in that moment, Daniel realized her belief in him was not just saving her, it was changing him. The great hall of the Alien Council was built to intimidate. Its ceiling reached high above, carved with glowing runes that shifted like living stars. Tall pillars lined the chamber, and at the center, a throne of silverstone gleamed under cold light. Around it sat nobles in flowing robes, their jeweled masks hiding sharp faces. Soldiers with spears of energy guarded every exit. Daniel had never seen such a place before. Every step he took echoed loudly on the polished floor. Beside him, Lyra walked with her hood down, her small face pale but calm. Her crest pulsed faintly, hanging on a chain around her neck. At the far end of the hall, a woman rose from the throne. She was tall, elegant, and her silver hair shimmered like fire. Her robe glittered with jewels, and her cold eyes cut through Daniel like blades. Lyra froze. Her voice shook. Mother. The noblewoman's face did not soften. She raised her chin, her voice ringing clear. Do not call me that. You are no daughter of mine. The words slammed into Lyra's chest. Daniel felt her small hand tighten around his. He looked at the woman with disgust. She's your child, he said firmly. How can you deny her? Council murmured, some nodding, others whispering behind jeweled hands. The noblewoman, Lady Vera, lifted her hand for silence. This child was cast aside for weakness, she declared. She carries the crest, yes, but she is unfit to lead House Vera. Now she appears here dragging a filthy human, daring to claim a place in my hall. It is shameful. Gasps echoed across the room. Daniel's jaw clenched. He stepped forward, anger burning in his chest. Shameful? What's shameful is throwing away your own daughter like garbage. She begged for a father because her own mother abandoned her. The nobles shifted uncomfortably. Some avoided Lady Vera's glare. The noblewoman's lips curled in disdain. You speak boldly for a human slave. Do you think your words carry weight here? Daniel's voice rose, echoing in the hall. I'm not a slave, I'm her father. The council erupted in gasps. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from hope. She squeezed his hand, clinging. To him, Lady Vera's eyes narrowed. Father, you dare claim her? Very well, let us see how long your lie lasts. She gestured sharply. Two guards dragged forward a small pedestal. Upon it rested a bowl of liquid light. The council stirred. "The bowl of lineage," whispered one noble. "It reveals true bonds of blood." Daniel's stomach sank. If the bowl revealed he wasn't related, the council would expose him instantly. Lady Vera smiled coldly. "Let the child place her hand. Let us see if she truly belongs to this human." The guard stepped forward. Lyra trembled, looking at Daniel. "What if it shows nothing?" she whispered. Daniel knelt before her, taking her hands gently. "Listen to me, Lyra. That crest glowed because you believed. The truth isn't just in blood. It's in love. Put your hand in that bowl and think only of this. I am your father and you are my daughter. Nothing else matters." Her glowing eyes widened. She nodded slowly. The guards pushed her forward. With shaking fingers, she lowered her hand into the glowing liquid. The bowl shimmered, ripples spreading across the surface. For a long moment, nothing happened. The nobles leaned forward, eager to see her exposed. Lady Vera smirked, ready to laugh. Then the liquid blazed gold. A radiant light burst upward, surrounding Lyra and Daniel both. The crest around her neck pulsed in harmony, filling the hall with a warmth that silenced everyone. The nobles gasped, in shock. Some covered their faces, others whispered in disbelief. Lady Vera's smirk vanished. Her eyes blazed with fury. "It is impossible," she shouted. "No human could ever—" But the bowl glowed brighter, as if denying her words. Daniel wrapped his arm around Lyra, holding her close. His voice rang strong. "You tried to cast her aside. But she is not alone anymore. She has a father now. And nothing you say will change that." The hall trembled with whispers. Some nobles looked shaken, others thoughtful. But Lady Vera's glare promised danger. She would not let this insult stand, and Daniel knew betrayal was coming.